Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today we have another shop talk video, and today we're going to be talking about counterfeit parts making their ways to the auto parts stores. And before we go ahead and get into this, guys, like always, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, hit the subscribe button down below. Definitely smash the like button because it helps the channel out. With that said, let's go ahead and get started on today's topic. So we have covered counterfeit parts before on this channel. It was about 2 or 3 years ago where a customer brought me parts. I wound up installing them, spark plugs specifically, and they started tapping because they were falling apart and they almost blew up his engine. But luckily we caught it in time, saved the day by removing those and putting genuine parts in it, and everything was good to go. And a couple weeks ago or a week ago, depending on how I roll it out, you probably saw the parts scam video that auto parts stores are basically being scammed by people buying premium quality parts, putting their used parts in the box or another cheaper part in there and returning it for a full refund. What we're going to talk about today is similar to the swap scam that we previously did a video on. So one thing that I have noticed lately is that whether it's intentional or not, auto parts stores sometimes are getting fake parts and they're not genuine. Best example that I have of this is that about maybe a month or two ago, actually maybe a little bit longer, I remember I bought some NGK spark plugs from a very popular auto parts store that's pretty much nationwide. They delivered them and the box and everything was genuine. I can tell it was a NGK box. The spark plugs that were inside the box, they looked a little odd. Now, they said NGK, they had the right part numbers on them, but they just didn't look right. The font and the texture and quality. For those of you that do this for a living, if you replace, let's say, spark plugs quite often, you do tune-ups, you know that a spark plug has a certain weight, certain feel to it, certain texture. It's hard to explain it, but if you know, you know. And what wound up happening was I ordered these spark plugs and I get these replacements, and it was a box, a 4-pack. It was a 4-cylinder engine, and they didn't quite feel right. So I called my parts supplier, the same store again, and I told them, hey, can I get another box of these sent out? And at the same time I did that, I also reached out to another supplier and ordered another set from them. I just wanted to kind of see what the differences were. And I got the second box from the same supplier, and guess what? Completely different feel, texture, weight. Everything was different from the other ones they had sent me. And then the other supplier that I bought the other spark plugs from that were the same ones, I opened those up and looked at them, and they felt exactly like the second set that was given to me by the original vendor. So basically the first package that they initially sent me, something was off about them. Couldn't quite figure it out. I had to cut the clip because there was an ambulance rolling by. I'm sure everyone heard it. But either way, getting back to it, we couldn't quite put our finger on it. Like, it just felt weird. I'm like, is this a manufacturing thing or not? But it's kind of odd because the same store that I purchased the original ones from gave me a second set, and they're completely different. And the second set matches up with the other parts store that I know gets them directly from the supplier. And the only thing I can think of is that these were counterfeit. And sure enough, they were, because I wound up sending them back, and this parts store actually wound up sending them, I guess, to their corporate office where I guess they can tell the difference or look at stuff. And sure enough, this was a counterfeit part or a counterfeit box that they sent me. Now in this scenario, it's hard to say, but what I'm assuming is happening is people buy cheap counterfeit parts that are, let's say like 15 bucks for a pack of spark plugs. Then they go to the store, buy the genuine stuff or the real proper one that's maybe $20 a spark plug, and they're taking the good stuff, putting the counterfeit parts in there to the original box so it looks and feels the part, and then returning them. That's the only conclusion that I can think of that makes sense in my mind that would contribute to something like this, because I don't really want to think that parts stores are buying counterfeit parts like this. But here's the thing. This brings me to the second part of this video, where it is a possibility that stores are being duped into buying from sellers or suppliers that are selling counterfeit parts. Now, in this scenario that I just mentioned, I really don't feel that was the case, because there were some certain things that I could tell, like the packaging had been opened before, and the box was a original NGK spark plug box, or boxes I should say, because there was multiple. You can tell they were the real deal because I looked up counterfeit ones, and you can kind of see the font differences, the color differences. You can kind of see and tell certain things are different. So I think in that scenario, someone did an old swapperoo, and they just decided to do an advanced level swapperoo because they decided to buy counterfeit parts that have the same part numbers as the genuine parts they were buying to basically steal or scam, whatever you want to call it. But it's thievery. Now the second thing, getting back to the second thing in this video, is that I'm pretty sure that there are people out there, big reputable companies, that are falling for a scam, or maybe a supplier that is, let's say, like a wholesale distributor is probably either knowingly buying counterfeit parts or mistakenly buying them, getting duped, and then selling it to these suppliers that are selling it to shops and people out there, the general public. That is a possibility, although I don't know how possible that is. Maybe you guys that work in the auto parts industry can tell me, but to me, I find that, yeah, there's a slim chance maybe a small mom and pop parts store might get duped into that, but I doubt a big corporate store would fall for that, or maybe they would. It's hard to say, but I do feel like there could be some truth to this possibly. Now, the thing is, there's not that many mom and pop auto parts stores. When I opened up, there used to be one here locally next to me, and it's kind of gone with it when they closed down. It's all pretty much big box stores and big box warehouses that supply parts now. So when I'm ordering through vendors, sadly, it's always a corporate store, never a local parts store, which is like a mom and pop. And to be honest with you, I guess that's a good thing, because I know mom and pop stores would probably buy stuff online. When I first opened up, there was a small one that I would buy from, and you could honestly tell that he was buying stuff online and getting it cheaper and selling it to me for more. Because sometimes he would tell me it'd be like a day or two to get a certain part that I know his distributor where he would buy them from would have them in stock, and they were more expensive, so he would try to undercut. And there's always gonna be something like that. That's neither here nor there. That's not the topic of this video, but just a little tidbit of info I wanted to throw in there. So for me as a shop, it's better to buy from big box companies or big box stores that sell auto parts, just because I know that they're getting them directly from, let's say, NGK, which is the manufacturer of the spark plugs. But there could also be instances where they're buying it from a bigger wholesaler who supposedly bought it from NGK, but they're really counterfeit and they could be getting duped. So it's a good possibility. So all in all, we talked about two different scenarios in this video, and I just want to urge everyone, when you're buying auto parts, if it's online, even if it's a reputable supplier, be careful, because whether it's a big box store or a big online place, they're always trying to get the best price, and they could be buying from non-reputable suppliers, which they may or may not know they're doing that. So it's hard to say, but the best method for me is that if you go to an auto parts store, always check your parts before you pay for them or walk out with them, because if something feels off, it doesn't feel right, you may not want to purchase them. Or while you're there, you can say, hey, do you have another box of these? I want to compare them. And you can look at them right then and there and do your comparison so you don't get duped. In the last video that I made, a lot of people were commenting that they got used parts and new boxes before, which I've ran across too. But in my scenario, when it's a shop, I've always called back the supplier and told them, hey, why do I have a used part in here? And they've always taken care of it. But there were a few stories where people told me they bought a part, it's the wrong part, and it's used. Apparently someone took it out of the box, used it, and returned it. I believe Ray even made a video on this, I think on a wheel seal a couple months back. I remember watching that video as well. And it happens to everyone out there. So when you're a shop, you got a little bit more leverage than whereas if you're a consumer, you might go back to the auto parts store and say, hey, I just bought this and it's not the right part, it's a used part. They might say, you're the one that did it and we're not refunding your money. Leave or buy another one. As a matter of fact, I did have someone comment me that in that video, and it's just sad that they're doing that because these thieves are ruining it for everyone. At the end of the day, when stuff like this happens, at least at an auto parts store level, like a corporate store, if let's say it's a counterfeit part, they'll probably eat it, or they might just call up the supplier and say, hey, these are defective. And then, the way it works in retail is if you're selling something new and it gets returned and it's possibly defective, the supplier or the manufacturer is never going to say, oh, bring it back to me, ship it out at my dime and let me pay for everything. They're normally going to tell that retail store, hey, just break it and throw it out or do whatever you want to do with it. And they just write it off and chalk it up. So even if it's a counterfeit part, or let's say a swap part or anything, the parts stores aren't losing the money. It's the big corporate companies usually, which, I mean, I can't say you can be sad about that or not be sad about that. I mean, it depends on how you see it. But at the end of the day, it's just a bunch of crap. For me, it really hits home when it hurts consumers and shops like mine, that we're trying to, get our customers' cars in and out. We're ordering these parts and we have to contend with, possible counterfeit parts or parts that have been swapped out because thievery and scammers. And both scenarios usually has to do with thieves and scammers, because like I said, it's hard to think of a big part store, like let's say like AutoZone. I don't think AutoZone would be buying from a third-party distributor. I think they would be buying manufacturer direct, so there's less chance of counterfeit parts getting through that way. But there is a possibility, because you never know. Everyone is always out for the better deal, so it's a possibility that it can possibly happen. But either way, I don't want to make this video too long, so we'll kind of leave it at that. I just want to share my 2 cents on this whole counterfeit parts thing, because I know online there's always a lot of counterfeit parts, but I never thought I would encounter it at a retail store, and I did. So if it happened to me, I'm sure it's happened to you, or possibly can happen to you. And just want to alert everyone, so you know what is going on when you buy parts nowadays. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. Just protect yourself as best as you can. Check the parts before you buy them, and if they feel off or feel weird or not genuine feeling to you, have another box brought up and compare it, or just go somewhere else and purchase it and check them. Again, that's the key thing. So like always, guys, I'm gonna leave it at this. Comment, like, and subscribe, because it definitely helps the channel grow. I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and I'll catch you on the next video.